Okay, go ahead and take out that percentage introduction worksheet. Did everybody bring it with you? I emailed it to you. If you need a copy, I've got some copies here. Did everybody print it and bring it, or no?
No, I didn't.
Which means you didn't do it.
I didn't because I didn't get it.
Uh-huh.
This something.
You are. You are. I appreciate that. Okay, so many of my students in the past have struggled mightily when it comes to real estate math. And what I have found is that for many of them, they don't have a problem with real estate math so much as they have a problem with basic math. And just because I put the word basic there doesn't mean you should feel upset or insulted if you struggle with it. Basic math just means we're not talking about calculus here. You know, we're talking about basic mathematical functions. And, you know, one of the things that annoys me more than anything else is sometimes in this country we have this discussion about, I don't know why they don't teach math the way they taught it when I was in school. Folks, I am not going to advocate for how they teach math now, but what I can tell you is it has to be better than it was when you were in school, because y'all suck at it. Horribly. As a population, we are math-crippled people. But here's what I want you to know. You don't have to be. It's not that intimidating unless you allow it to be. Particularly in this class, because in this class, almost everything is based around the idea of a percentage. Almost all the math that we do is percentage-based math. Some percent, and percent, how many cents are in a dollar? 100. Percent literally just means per 100. So for every 100 of something, there are this number. When we say there's 12% of something is red, that means for every 100 of the thing, 12 of them are what? Red. That's what a percentage is. If we say your commission is 6%, that means for every $100 in sales price, you're getting how many dollars? $6. That's what a percentage is. The beauty for you guys is you have a calculator that has a percent button built into it. From a math standpoint, it is simply as straightforward as knowing how to type into the calculator correctly. Now, what you have to remember about your calculator, that is 1975 technology. It is not a smartphone. It cannot figure out your mistakes and what you meant to say. If you type it in the wrong order, it's going to either error out or worse, give you a wrong answer. Sometimes they just throw random numbers up there like, okay, well hopefully they'll think that's right. It's all about how you type it into the calculator. That's why it's so important to get your calculator and get comfortable with your calculator so that you work with the same calculator throughout the class. Here's what I will tell you. The word of is an important word. Very often in the class, I'm going to just want you to say the word of. 12% of something. Of, when you're talking about percentages, means multiply. 12% of $150,000 just means 12% times $150,000. Is that okay for everybody? Now, there's one catch to that. You can't type it in the calculator that way. You try it. Type 12 and hit the percent button. And what does it immediately do? It either gives you an error or it just says what? Zero. It doesn't work that way. But what does work is flipping it around. Type the $150,000 first. 150,000 times what? 12%. And if you type that into your calculator exactly like that, $150,000 times 12%, how much is that? $18,000? Is everybody okay with that? All right? What about number 2? What will we type in the calculator? $387,000 times what? 6%. So that is $23,220. Is everybody okay with that? Number 3, if there are 900 balls in a bucket and 9% of the balls are red, how many red balls are in the bucket? 9% of what number? 900. So how do we type that in the calculator? 900 times 9%. So how many red balls do we have? 81. No kidding. I sent this home as homework one time, and somebody came back with a number that was like 27,850. And I looked at her and I said, so you telling me out of the 900 balls in the bucket, 27,000 of those 900 are red? We got some work to do. Okay? 81. Travis sells his home for $250,000 and pays his real estate brokerage firm a commission amounting to 5% of the sales price. What is the total commission paid by the seller in the transaction? That's a lot of words to ask you the same simple question we've always been asking. What is it? It's just 5% of what number? $250,000. So the math is going to just simply be $250,000 times what? 5%. And what do you end up with there? 12,500? It's a decent payday. Decent. Nothing to get excited about, but decent. What's that? You see, it is decent. It is decent. There's nothing wrong with that. That's all you can do. Sally works as a buyer's agent on the sale, and her firm is compensated 2.5% of the total sales price of $172,500. What's the firm's compensation for representation of this buyer? Again, same exact thing with a lot of words. It's just 2.5% of what number? $172,500. So we're going to type $172,500 times 2.5%. We type it in the calculator just like that. 4312 and 50 cents. Ahmad purchases a new home with a $285,000 sales price and finances the purchase by borrowing 80% of the total purchase price. What is his loan amount? Again, now we've started to make it more real estate related, but at its essence, isn't it the same exact thing over and over and over? It's just he's borrowing what? 80% of $285,000. So the math of that to figure out his loan amount is just going to be $285,000 times 80%. $228,000. Now let me ask you a question here. It's not on the sheet, but logically, if we wanted to know his down payment, couldn't we simply subtract that from the loan amount? What else could we do, thinking from a percentage perspective? If he's borrowing 80%, how much is he putting down? 20%. So couldn't we say his down payment is 20% of $285,000 and do it that way as well? See how that works? Okay? All right. Number 7. A home has increased in value by 15% since it was last sold for $218,000. What is the new value? So this is a very common type of thing in a real estate question. Is a percentage increase or decrease? A rise in value, a fall in value. A profit, or what's the opposite of a profit? A loss. Appreciation or depreciation. These are all the same things. Something's either going up in value or going down. Now, there are a couple ways you can approach this. I'm going to show you both. I'm going to do it the longhand way first, okay? Now, what's one way we can do this? Can we calculate 15% of $218,000? Because that'll tell us how much it went up in value, won't it?
Yeah.
So if we do that, if we say $218,000 times 15%, it went up in value by $32,700, right? Now, they didn't ask us how much it went up in value. What did they ask us? The new value. Well, if it went up in value, that's going to be 218 plus 32,700, right? So the new value is $250,700. Is everybody okay with that method? Now, that method is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It will always work. Would you like a simplified version of that method? Here's the thing. When you deal with percentages, the magic number is 100%. Everything always starts at 100%. I am 100% of my current size. If I lose 5%, I will have gone down by 5%. If I gain 5%, I will go up by 5%. Does that make sense for everybody? But you always start at 100%. We started at 100% of $218,000. That was our starting point here. Does that make sense for everybody? What if I told you you could do the addition in your head with the percentages rather than having to figure out the numbers first? What percentage are we starting at? 100. Which way are we going? Up or down? A home has what? Increased. Which way are we going? Up. By how much? What's 100 plus 15? 115% of, what's our starting point? $218,000. So can we not just simply type it to the calculator, $218,000 times what? 115%. Does it work?
Yeah.
It does. How many years you spent in school and nobody ever showed you that? Everybody okay with that? I don't care which way you go, either way will work. I actually will tell you, the shortcut in this case is actually the most beneficial long term, because when we get to things like profit and loss, it's easier to understand profit and loss when you understand fluctuating up and down from 100%. Is everybody okay so far? So look at the next one. It says, Tommy works for Wake County approving new construction homes. Last year, 28,000 new homes were approved. This year, Tommy has seen an increase of 8%. How many new homes have been approved this year? Well, let me ask you this. What percentage are we starting at? 100, because we always, so we started with 100% of 28,000. Which way did we go? Did we get more or less homes approved? More. So we increased by how much? We increased by 8. So we started with 100% of 28,000. Now we have 100 and what? 108%. So we're just going to say 28,000 homes times 108%. How many new homes did we approve this year? 30,240 homes this year. Yes, ma'am, London. I knew somebody was going to say it, and I'm glad you did. So London is admitting to laziness. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's what London is doing. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but I'm going to explain what she's doing, and I'm going to explain the pluses and minuses. Some of your calculators, and notice I said that a very important word there. What did I say? Some of your calculators will allow you to simply type in 28,000 plus 8%. You might want to try it right now and see if it works on yours. Matter of fact, why don't you try it? Type 28,000 plus 8%. Raise your hand if you ended up with 30,240. Raise your hand if you ended up with a different number other than that. Keep them up. Those of you that had a different number. You didn't do anything wrong. You have a retarded 1975 calculator. And here's the problem. There's no rhyme or reason to whether you're... I have seen two exact looking calculators, and one would do it and one would not. Here's why I don't like that method. What if you get out of your car on the day of the exam, you drop the calculator on the ground and break it, and you have to borrow one from somebody, and you end up with one that... Because here's the thing, it doesn't give you an error. Those of you that it gave you a different number, it just gave you a weird number, right? You know, so what is the number somebody got doing it that way? You got 30,424. Here's the problem. She relies on that. Is she going to be wrong on the test? So that's why I don't like that method. My fear in my back of my head is that you're going to end up with a different... What if you go take the state exam and you get somebody who says, oh, you can't use that calculator. We have to give you one. And you get one that won't do it that way. You see what I'm saying?
You're right, I got two different calculators and I bought them both.
You got two different calculators, you got two different answers, right? Here's the thing. Doing it as 108% always works. And so I'm not going to tell you not to do it. If you feel confident that your calculator will do it that way and you want to do it that way, great. But my way always works. And so that's why I would encourage you to try at least to focus on it. That way no matter what calculator you get, you're okay with it. Is everybody good with that? All right? That's the answer to your question. Because for some it doesn't work.
I did it that way first, but...
Yeah. Okay. Number 9, Latasha is a sales agent who earned $122,000 in sales commission last year. Unfortunately, she's seen a 7% decrease in her income this year due to illness that's kept her home. What's her income? Well, what's our starting point always? What percentage? 100. Which way did we go? Up or down? We went down. She has seen a what? Decrease. Decrease 100 by 7. 100 minus 7 is what? 93%. So what we're left with is 93% of what number? 122,000. So we're going to punch in the calculator $122,000 times what? 93%. 113,460. Is everybody okay with that? We feel pretty good with that. Honestly, if you get okay with this, you're going to be okay with the math, because the math, it just becomes about knowing what to punch in the calculator. The math doesn't become any more complex than this in the class. When looking at the sales price of homes in a particular neighborhood, Carlos noted that prices have decreased in the neighborhood over the previous year by roughly 14%. Based on this information, what would be the new valuation of a home that had been worth $426,000 previously? You go ahead and do that one on your own. I'll give you 30 seconds. It's right there. What am I going to type into the calculator? $426,000 times what? 86%. Did everybody get there? And if you did you come up with a value for the property of $366,360? Now let me ask you a question. We spent 15 minutes there. Could you have done that quickly 15 minutes ago? If you could, great. Did that help some of you guys? Good. What I want you to understand is that this you can do. The math is almost always about something like this. It's about how you think about it, not the actual. I can't teach you calculus. There's newsflash. I couldn't do that crap either. Talk about the limit of something as the n approaches infinity. Leave me alone. It's not real numbers. But these are real numbers. This is real world math. Most of this is consumer math. You do it every day. You just don't realize you're doing it. Okay? Now let's start to apply that to real estate. So I'm going to go back over to your chapter 3 slides, and we're going to talk about the first real estate-based math, which is going to be property tax. Yes, ma'am.
With the math, I struggle with that. So what I was doing is I wasn't using the percent. What if someone struggled with math and they were trying to figure out decimals? Because I was doing, say, for instance, 12% of 150,000. I was doing in the calculator 0.12, and then for the second, it says 6% of that number. I was doing 0.06. So I'm trying to learn it decimal wise. Do you think I should learn them both ways? Because in certain questions,
Your calculator's always going to have a percent button on it.
I know, but don't we need to learn the decimals?
I'm telling you, just what you want to do. You're welcome to move the decimal. But I'm telling you, every question we ever deal with, when a rate's involved, you're going to be able to hit the percent button. So I wouldn't,
That's just the best
if you're comfortable with one over the other, pick the one you're comfortable with. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I'm saying forcing yourself to do it each way, you don't need all that. As long as you do it one way or the other. Everybody got that? If you want to move decimals, move decimals. That's what all the percent button on your calculator does, is moves the decimal for you. That's all it does. That's it. But I like the percent button for me personally, because when I move decimals, I find I get sloppy. Sometimes I'm moving one too many places, or not enough places, or I forget to move it at all, you know, and so the percent button is very consistent. All right? So let's talk about this gentleman here. If you grew up in my generation, you know who this gentleman is. If you didn't, I pity the fool who don't know who this guy is. But I use him differently. A T-bar, which you have in your formula packet, is just a visual way of expressing a math formula. It's a visual way to help you memorize a math formula. So when you look at a T-bar, and I usually draw a circle around them. Some people call it circle math because of the circle. But what really matters is the T. When you look at the T, the crossbar, you're going to imagine as a division symbol. So when something's on top and bottom, what do you do with those two numbers? You divide them. And it's always top divided by bottom. You literally type them in the same order they come up on the page. I have people all the time. Now, here's what I want to tell you. You can fit a big number into a little number. Don't you turn it around because you think it makes more sense. If the little number's on top and the big number's on the bottom, do it that way anyway, okay? Because I know what you want to do. You're like, oh no, I can't divide 100 by 100,000. Yes, you can. The calculator will do it. If the little number's on top, guess what you type in first? The little number. Whatever's on top of the T-bar, you type it in first, and then you hit divide, and you divide by whatever's on the bottom. Here's the thing. Whatever's on top divided by this equals what? The other thing on the bottom. Does that make sense? Whatever's here divided by here equals this thing. Is everybody good with that? What about this and this? What's their relationship, the side-by-side things? You multiply, and what does that equal? The number on the top. So the two numbers on the bottom multiplied equal the number on the top. And the top number divided by either of the bottom numbers equals the other number on the bottom. Does that make sense? So just to, test if you were paying attention right there, if the number 3 was here and the number 2 was here, what number would be on top? 6. So 3 times 2 equals 6. And 6 divided by 3 would always equal what? 2. And 6 divided by 2 would always equal 3. Does that make sense? Here's why that's helpful with a formula. You don't know what they're going to ask you for in a formula. If I ask you what the length of a property was, what two numbers would you need to know?
Area.
Now you don't know the length. If I ask you for the length, what two numbers would you need to know? You would need to know the area and the what? Width. And how are you going to do? Area what? Divided by width. Does that make sense? Because area is on top of the T. It's solving a formula without having to do algebra. You remember in algebra when they made you, if you divide on this side, you got to multiply on this side, you got to do the opposite. You all remember that? And solving you don't have to solve formulas. The T-bar does it for you. But so what does width equal? Width equals what? Area divided by length. What does length equal? Area divided by width. What does area equal? Length. You see how fast that is? If you know how to draw, I can't snap my fingers. Isn't that the saddest thing for a 40-year-old person not to be able to snap their fingers? I never have been able to. I don't know what's wrong with my hand. You can do it in front of this, like that. But see how fast that is? When you know the picture, you can solve it instantly. So here's what you're going to do when you start working with formulas in this class. In the question, it's going to be asking you, what is the tax bill, for example? We'll skip forward. I'm going to come back. If I just ask you a simple question, what is the tax bill? Well, what thing are we looking for? The one on top, one on bottom? What are we looking for? The one on top. So what's our math going to be? It's going to be the two things on the bottom multiplied. You see how quickly you can solve what you need to do with that equation. That's the whole purpose of the T-bar. Now, generally, as percentages go, and your slides are slightly different here. I just realized I updated these, I tweaked these a little bit. They're not much off. But if you want to snap a picture of some that are slightly different than what you have, that's fine. I don't think you have this one in here. This is like an explanation of percentages in general. I find that sometimes it helps people to understand a percentage rate is really just whatever you're trying to count divided by the number of things in the whole. Like, for example, people struggle all the time. They'll take the midterm exam in here. What's my grade? I look at them and I say, you tell me. Well, I don't know. How much does each one count for? That's the dumbest way to look at something I've ever seen in my life. See, that's why they screwed you up in school, because they told you each one counts for 1.5 point. No. It's a percentage. It's just a part divided by a whole. When you're talking about a test, what's the whole? How many questions are what? On the whole test. And when you're talking about the part, if you want to know what percentage of questions you got correct, what's the part going to be? The number of questions you what? You got right. So if you wanted to know your grade on the test, what would you do? You would take the number of questions you got right and divide by the total number of questions what? On the whole test, and that would give you your rate. Does that make sense? So if there's 121 questions on the test, where's that going to go? The whole, right? That's the whole test is 121 questions. And if you got 85 of those questions right, where would that go? On the top. That's the thing you're counting, right? How much of it I got right. So it will be 85 divided by 121, and that would be your rate. Does that make sense for everybody? Every percentage works that way. It's always some portion divided by the whole thing. So if you're counting the number you got wrong, that's your part. So it'll be the number you got wrong divided by the whole. But that's not going to be your score. That's going to be what percentage you got what? Wrong. That's not the percentage you got right. That's the percentage you got wrong. So you got to tell me what you want to count. Do you want to count the number of people that passed the exam, or you want to count the number of people that failed the exam?
Because I kind of did that at home, and I got the number of questions that I got wrong, and I believe
We don't care about the number you got wrong. You think negatively, think positively, care about the number you got what? Right, exactly. You want to know what percentage, because really your score on a test is what percentage of the questions you got what? Right. See, if they'd explain that to you, you'd understand what you were actually doing. If I want to know what percentage of the class passed the quiz, what's the first thing I need to do? I need to count how many people in the whole class, don't I? I need to know how many, so there's 50 of you. So what am I doing with the 50? That goes in the whole, right? And then, what am I going to count? How many people passed? And let's say 38 of you passed. Where's that going to go? In the top. So it would be 38 divided by what? 50, and that would be the percent of the class that passed the exam. Does that make sense? Percentages always work that way. Now, whenever you're calculating the rate of anything, your final answer needs to be multiplied times 100. So let's just do that one we just talked about. Let's just say there's 50 of you in here. Okay? There's 50 of you in here. And how many did you say passed the quiz? You said 38 passed the quiz. Okay? Now if we look at the T-bar, the rate is over here. And I want to know the pass rate for the class. I want to know how many people passed the exam. Well, if I type 38 divided by 50, what comes up on my calculator? Point what? 76. Anytime that they're looking for a rate, as soon as you do that math, you're going to type one thing into your calculator. Times 100. Anytime you're looking for the what? The rate. Anytime the answer's looking for the rate, it's the only time you do it, you simply type time. So if you type times 100, what's the pass rate for the class? 76%. 76% of the class passed the quiz. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Okay. Now, let's actually look at a real estate formula. This is a formula for property taxation. Property tax bill. What is it equal to? It's the amount of tax I'm going to pay, but look at the formula. What is it equal to? What? The assessed value what? Times the tax rate. The assessed value times whatever the tax rate is. Those are the two things you would need to know if they were asking you to calculate a property tax bill. If they were asking you to calculate the assessed value of the property, what would you do? The property tax bill what? Divided by the tax rate. That's how you read the formula. So, rates in North Carolina are expressed as something called dollars per hundred. What did I say percent meant? Per what? 100. So per 100 is just the same thing as percent. So in this case, $1.50 per 100. Guess what percentage that is? Guess what it is? 1.5%. What did I change? No, I dropped the dollar sign and put what there? A percent sign. There's no change to the number whatsoever. If you're doing math and moving decimals and jumping on tables, you're doing the wrong thing, right? It's literally the same number. $1.50. Can you write $1.50? Then you can write 1.5% because it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. Don't make that harder than it is. What is $1.75 per 100? What's the tax rate? 1.75 what? Percent. 75 cents per 100. What's the tax rate? Write 75 cents. Literally, write it down. Write 75 cents. Write it down in front of you. Not with a cent sign. Write it with a dollar sign. How do you write 75 cents? So then what percentage is that? The same one. 0.75 what? Percent. You literally don't change anything except take the dollar sign off and put what? A percent sign there. It's the same exact thing. Don't make it harder than it is. So, $1.50 per 100 is the same thing as what? 1.5%. So, here's an example. It says, what is the yearly tax bill for a property with an assessed value of $220,000 in Chapel Hill where the tax rate is $1.76 per 100? Find the question. Stop trying to digest the whole thing. Find the question. What are they asking you for? What do they want to know? The tax bill. Here's what you're going to do. You're first going to write the formula down. You always write the formula down. And then you're going to circle the thing you're looking for. What's my math going to be?
120,000.
Value times what? Rate. Did they give me both of those things?
Yes.
They said the value was how much? $220,000. And what am I going to do with that? I'm going to multiply it times what? 1.76%. And if you do that, you come up with $3,872. Everybody good with that? We good? All right. Let's see then. swirling her before they feel over here. The wait staff around here suck.
Oh.
Speaking of the wait staff, have y'all gone to one of these movie theaters now that has food and drinks and all that in your seat? Have y'all been there? We went to Senate Bistro in Cary, and it was great, except I didn't understand that apparently the bar is open one time during this whole thing. You know, you tell me how to go to the movie, and I'm looking around going, where is she? It's been like an hour. And somebody finally said, oh no, they only come before the movie. I'm like, well, that sucks. Don't get me started, and now I got to go find you again.
Yeah, because they got
there's a different guy.
Yeah, there's one on Newburgh called the Alamo. And you can get drunk during the movie.
Okay, there we go. So apparently I was in the wrong place. Apparently Cary's too refined. You get one drink and you're done, you know. You got to go find them after that. So let's look at this worksheet. And I'm going to go back and forth here between the slides and this because I want to get you in the habit of doing these. This first question says, calculate the annual property tax due for the following properties, all located in Wake County, with a property tax rate of $1.01 per 100. So the first thing you need to do is write down your formula. You always need to write down your formula. We only have one formula that we use for a property tax bill. And what does it look like? What goes on top?
Tax bill.
Tax bill. And what's on the bottom?
Value and rate.
The assessed value and the tax rate, correct? Now, what are they asking us for? Calculate the annual what?
Property tax.
Calculate the annual property tax due. So which one of those are they asking me for? The bill, right? Is everybody in agreement on that? They're asking me for the bill. So what is my math going to be? Assessed value times rate. And what is the rate?
$1.
It's $1.01 per 100, which is the same thing as what? 1.01 what? Percent. Is that all the information we need in order to calculate the tax bill for every single one of these things?
Yes.
Yeah. So look at number one. What are we going to do for the math to calculate the tax bill for number one? Multiply what? $250,000 times what? 1.01%. Now for some of you, you'll need to rewrite that formula every time and fill it in. Some of you, what's going to be good for you to do is write it out like this so you can see it. Where you have $250,000 and you have 1.01%. Does that make sense? And then when you do the math, where's your answer go? Up top. So what is the tax bill there? 2,500 and what? $25. That's for number one. So number two looks like this. 118,500, 1.01%. What's the tax bill? $1,196.85. All right, you go ahead and work on the next 3, 4. Actually, just do number C for me. And then we'll revisit on D. All right, so on C, what's my assessed value? $325,000. thousand, correct? What's my rate? 1.01%. So what am I going to do with those two? So my tax bill is $3,282.50, correct? Are we all okay on that? Now look at D. D is actually no more complex than C is. But this is the first time we've given you more numbers than you need. Look at the formula. What value is in the formula? Is assessed value in the formula or market value? Assessed value. So which one of those two numbers are you going to use? Assessed value. And what are you going to do with that market value? Nothing. You don't need it.
Hey, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you go back to B?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
That's all you need?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we set up D, what's our assessed value down here on the bottom? So we've got 200 and, is it 292? 282.
292.
282.
Oh,
It's not market value, it is what?
I got you.
Assessed value.
I got it right.
282, and then what's our rate? 1.01%. So our bill is $2,848.20 for an annual bill. Let me ask you a quick question. If they ask you what was the monthly tax bill, what would you do with that number? Divide it by 12, because there's 12 months in a year. Pay attention to this next question. You've got to learn a lesson. What do you think you would do if I asked you for the daily tax bill? Oh, there's 30 days in a year?
Divide by 360.
How many days are there in the year? So what am I going to divide by? Still wrong. We work on what's called a banker's calendar in here. There are 360 days in a year in a banker's calendar. You know why? Because bankers aren't smart enough to know which months have 30 and 31 days. So they make every month have 30 days, including February. So when we use the banker's calendar, 12 months, 30 days each, which is a total of how many days? 360. So if I wanted a monthly tax bill, I would take the annual and divide by what? Monthly. If I wanted monthly, I would take annual and divide by what? 12, because there are 12 months in the year. If I wanted daily, I would take the annual and divide by what? 360, because there are 360 days in the banker's calendar. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay? And you need to know to do that, because when you start prorating things, sometimes we have to prorate things down to the day. All right, or E. What do we need to do on E? Are we using $515,000 or are we using $496,500? $515,000 times 1.01%. Our annual tax bill is $5,201.50. Everybody okay with that? Feel pretty good about it. Now look at F. F looks like it's so much more complex. We still want to know the tax bill. That's still the same formula. So tax bill, in order to calculate the bill, what two things do we need to know? The assessed value and the what? Rate. Do we already know one of those?
Yes.
Which one?
Rate.
So we know the rate is 1.01%. Let's fill it in. What's missing? We need the assessed value. What do we know about the assessed value though?
It's 85%.
It's 85% of the market value. What's the market value? $127,000. So what do you think you're going to have to do first here? You're going to have to do 127,000 times what? 85% just to get your assessed value. And that is $107,950. And that number's going right there. Does that make sense for everybody? So now what's our math going to be to calculate our actual property taxes? 107,950 what? Times 1.01%. Did I lose anybody with that? Are we all okay with that? Yeah? $1,090.30, 29 cents, whichever you got, it's okay. All right, do G real quickly by yourself. I don't care. I don't care. Whether you got 1090, 29, or 30. Or something like this around it's not gonna matter. I prefer you not round at all. I prefer you just write it as 0.295. There's just their answers are gonna be rounded. All right, did you write your formula down? Okay, so the bill equals the assessed value times the rate. Do we already know one of those? We know the rate. What is it? 1.01%. We don't know the assessed value, but what we do know is it is what? 75%. So if we take 228,650 and times it by what? 75%. We end up with an assessed value of $171,487.50. And where's that number going? Over there to our assessed value. And so what's our math going to be to calculate our tax bill? It's that number, $171,487.50 times what? 1.01%. And that gives us an annual tax bill of $1,732.23 or 24 cents. Oh, 2 cents, I'm sorry. I missed a zero. Sorry. It's Martina's fault. I told her it was a zero there. All right, take a glance back over at these slides now. That's calculating a tax bill. Well, how about if they ask us to calculate an assessed value? Look at this question. It says, what's the total assessed value of a property located in Raleigh where the Wake County tax rate is 75 cents per 100 and the City of Raleigh tax rate is 28 cents per 100 if the total tax bill is $3,180? Find the question. What are they asking us for? What is the what? What is the total what? Assessed value. So circle what they're asking you for first. Because then the math will become much more clear. What two things do you need to know? Tax bill and the rate. Now, did they give us the tax bill?
No.
Yes, 3,108.
What is it? 3,000 what? 3180. They gave you the tax bill. 3180. Did they give us the rate?
Yes.
Yes, but they gave it in two separate what?
Right.
Two separate pieces. Well, what do you do if you got something in two separate pieces? Put them together. And here's the thing. Don't make it harder than it is. Can you add 75 cents and 28 cents?
Yes.
Yeah, how much is it? Dollar what? $1.03, which is the same as what percentage? 1.03%. So now do we know the bill and the rate? Which is everything we need in order to calculate the assessed value. So what does the math say we're going to do? Don't think, react. What does the math say we're going to do when you look at it? You're going to divide what? Tax bill divided by rate. Simple as that. Fill in the tax bill, fill in the rate, and do what it says to do. Thinking is your enemy on such a thing. And when you do that, you end up with $308,737 as the tax bill. All right? So then now go back to the worksheet. So, you got it. 308 again. Look at number 2. Number 2 says calculate the assessed value of the following properties, all of which are located in Chapel Hill, with a total tax rate of $1.76 per 100. What are they asking us to calculate here? What is the question? What do they want to know? They want to know the assessed value. So the first thing I'm going to do is write my formula down. And my formula looks like this. It hasn't changed. What goes on top? The bill. And on the bottom is the assessed value and the rate. Well, they're asking us this time for which one? The assessed value. So I know my math is always going to be the bill divided by the rate. Did they tell me the rate?
Yes.
Yeah, the rate is right there, $1.76 per. And then in each question they're giving you the bill. So on A, what's your math going to be? 3,785 divided by what? 1.76%. And what is the value of that property?
$15,000.
200 how much?
15.
I got 215.
215.056.
3785 divided by 1.76%. I get 215.056. 81 or 82 cents. Does everybody see where that number's coming from? Okay? I want you to do B, C, and D. Give you about 2 minutes. Alright, how's it going? Alright, on B, what are we going to do? We're looking for the assessed value, so what goes on top? 75.68, and down on the bottom, what do we know about our rate? It's always what? 1.76%. So 75.68 divided by 1.76%. What's the value of that property? $430,000 is the assessed value of that property. On this one, $10,525 and 50 cents on top, and down on the bottom, 1.76%. How much? $598,039 and some change, right? And then finally the last one, $9,500 on top, and on the bottom, 1.76%. How you feeling about that so far? $539,772 and 70 what? 2 or 3 cents, either way. Okay. Everybody okay? Feel pretty good so far. All right. Now look at number 3. Number 3 is just real simple. Because what's the total tax rate paid by homeowners who are subject to the following tax rates on their property? Well, A, 76 cents per 100 in Wade County and 26 cents per 100 in the town of Cary. What do we have to do? Add them together. So what's the total tax rate? $1.02, right? Per 100, which is the same thing as what percent? 1.02%. I want to make sure you're comfortable making that transition. On D, 65 cents per 100 in Chatham and 34 cents per 100 in town of Pittsburgh. What are we going to do? Add them together, and what do we end up with? 99 cents, which is the same thing as 0.99%. And C, 98 cents per 100 Durham County, 28 cents City of Durham. What is that? It's a dollar what? $1.26? $1.26 per 100, or 1.26 what? Percent. Those are the total tax rates. And that really is as simple as that. Do number 4. Number 4 is what it looks like when you put what we just learned into the format of a word problem. Remember, math doesn't get more complicated just because you put it in a word problem. Find the question, find what they're asking you for, write your formula, and then find what you need. many agree with the numbers I got up here? You come up with an assessed value of 403,750 and a tax rate of 1.06%. And what do we end up with for a tax bill? 403,750 times 1.06%. How much?
427.75.
Thank you. 42.79 and 75 cents. Good. See, people usually freak out with word problems, but if you build yourself a map, write the formula, and then fill in what you have and work backwards from there. 42.79 and 75 cents. Why are you shaking your head? And check yourself. Did you get the same two numbers here, 403,750 and 1.06%? Well, then it must be a key mistake. So you type in 403,750 times 1.06%. 1.06%. You can hit.
I didn't write down the 6, I wrote down a 2.
You got 1.02%?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I'm not getting the right.
Did you add the other in your head maybe? Or?
Probably would have.
Okay. We good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at number 5. Go ahead and do that. That's your starting point. You can't do anything until you write the formula down and circle or highlight or whatever you're looking for, right? Okay? So you should all be starting from there. It does. It's a great tool. All right, so what am I doing up here on the top with my tax bill? What am I doing there? 65.40 up there, right? On the top. And then on the bottom, what am I doing? I got to add them together, right? I've got 0.35 plus 0.75, which is what, $1.10? Okay, so my rate is 1.10%. So what's my math going to be? What am I typing in the calculator? 65.40 divided by what? 1.1%. And I come up with a value for the property of $594,545.45. Those last two, by the way, are exactly like you could expect to see on the test. I mean, so we have now not only introduced you to a topic, but worked you up to the level of what you could expect as a test question about that first math topic. Hopefully, for those of you who are petrified of math, that shows you that this is not something you can't master, right? It's all about knowing the formula, writing the formula down, and then working your way backwards from there, what you got and what you don't have. We okay so far? Now, on number 6, it's asking us to calculate what? I'm going to write my formula down. What do we want to know? They want to know the rate. Well, it's the same formula. It's the tax bill on the top, and on the bottom we've got the assessed value and the rate. So this time they're asking us for the rate. So we know our math is going to be what? The bill is going to be division. The bill divided by what? The assessed value. Now, if you remember, just stop and pause for a second. I gave you a little bit of a warning earlier. I said anytime the question asks you to calculate a rate, what are you going to have to do with your final answer? Multiply by 100. You only do that when it's asking you for a rate. What are they asking you for here? What is the total ad valorem tax what? Rate. So what are you going to do with your final answer on each one of these? Multiply by 100. So you're going to do the math that the T tells you to do, and then that final answer you multiply by 100 every time. So what's my math going to look like on the first one over here? 4850 goes on top over, what's the assessed value? 386 500. Okay? And if I do that, it's 4850 divided by 386 500, and that gives me 0.01254. What am I going to do with that though? Times 100. So my tax rate is 1.2548%. I generally don't round. I try not to round. Rounding is dangerous in this class. It will not make you miss a question, but it'll make you think you missed a question. Because when we deal with big numbers, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, rounding can throw you off by several dollars. And people freak out about that. So I just kind of write down a bunch of decimal places and don't worry about the rounding. Now on the test, it'll tell you it wants it rounded to the nearest dollar, but do all your rounding at the end or something like that. Does that make sense for everybody? Here's what you don't want to do. Round 5 times along the way, because you will be significantly off. Especially don't round with percentages. Yes?
Won't be accurate in saying that the easy way to memorize this formula is if you consider the top number being kind of in the middle, it should go in values from largest to smallest. So the number on the left, or bottom of the left, would be the largest number in the formula always. And then the number on the top or middle would be the middle value. And the number on the right would be the smallest value.
That will be true most of the time. Yes.
Check whether you got your formulas right.
In the right place. Yeah. Because remember, always on the top is the part, what you're counting, and always on the bottom is the what? The whole. So, generally speaking, that's going to be. Generally speaking. Okay? Can you do B? What does B look like when you set it up? What goes on top? 6850. And down on the bottom is 562. And if we do that math, we end up with 0.001512, right? Times 100. Did I say that right? I did not. I did not. And then didn't look right after I said it. 6850 divided by 562.
0.0121.
Thank you. 0.01218 times what? 100 equals 1.2188%. Same thing for C. We set it up. On top, our tax bill is $52.50. On the bottom is our assessed value times our rate. And our assessed value is $600,000. So $52.50 divided by $600,000 equals 0.00875 times 100 equals a tax rate of 0.875%. Does that make sense for everybody? Or $0.875 per 100. It's the same thing. No matter how they give it to you on the test, it's the same thing. All right, now I need to switch back over to the slides for a second. Now we need to talk about something called a mill rate. Here's all you need to remember about mill rates. They're not useful. You gotta get rid of them. Mill rates are something that Midwestern states use. They don't use percentage tax rates, they use these millage rates. Mill means per thousand, whereas percent means per 100. A mill means per 1,000. So the magic number for you is going to be 1,000. To get rid of a mill rate, divide it by 1,000. That's all you got to do. That's what they'll ask you for on the test. They'll simply give you a mill rate and they'll want to know what the corresponding decimal rate is. In other words, convert the mill rate to a decimal. And to do that, you're going to do what? Divide it by what? So mill rate divided by 1,000 equals the decimal tax rate. Does that make sense for everybody? So whenever you have a mill rate, simply divide it by 1,000, and that will give you the decimal tax rate. So like, look at this example. It says, what's a mill rate of 17 as a decimal rate? Well, what are we going to do? 17 what? Divided by 1,000 equals 0.017. So look at your worksheet. You should be able to do those very quickly. Go ahead and convert A, B, and C there. Everybody okay with those three numbers? 0.017, 0.024, and 0.015. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Now, if they give you a mill rate in a question, like in number 8, look at number 8. It says, what are the annual ad valorem property taxes owed on a home with a market value of $225,000 and an assessed value equal to 55% of the market value? If the property is located in Detroit, which has a mill rate of 22, I try to give you a realistic question there. Detroit's Michigan, of course. Michigan uses mill rates, and Michigan also uses 55% of market value as their target for a tax value. But here's the thing, what are they asking you for? What's the question asked for? What are the what?
Tax bill.
Annual property taxes. What does the formula look like for annual property taxes? We've done it over and over. What does it look like? What goes on top?
Property tax.
Bill on the top, and on the bottom, the assessed value times the what? Rate. Well, how did they give you the rate? They gave us what? A mill rate. Okay, so that's got to go here. But before it can go there, what do we have to do with it? Divide it by 1,000. So 22 divided by 1,000, 0.22, right? I mean 0.022. 0.022. Everybody get that?
Yes.
So we're done with the converting the mill rate. We already got rid of it. And now we need to know the assessed value. What do they tell us about the assessed value?
55%.
55% of what?
Market value.
$225,000. So we're going to take $225,000 and multiply by what? 55%. And that is $123,750. $123,750, and what am I going to do with that? That goes over here to my assessed value, and that's going to be multiplied times my rate of what? .022. Now, you don't need to use a percent button because we did it as a mill rate. Is everybody okay with that? It's not the North Carolina tax rate. So it's just gonna be 123,750 times what? .022. And what do we end up with for a tax bill on that property? $2,722.50. Are we okay with that? That is literally it for property tax math. That's it. That's as complex as it can get. You can expect to see probably 2 math questions about property tax math on the exam. I mean, which is a lot for math, because honestly the math makes up about 20% of the exam, so you're only looking at, a total of probably 25 math questions, something like that. So this is 2 of the 25. You're already 10% there in the math. We okay with what we covered today?
I got a little bit lost with the mill rate. You said we don't even multiply by 100 days, right?
Well, you're not calculating the rate. First of all, we're getting rid of the mill rate. You only multiply by 100 when the question says, what is the what? Rate. When they're asking you for the rate, what were they actually asking you for here? They didn't ask us for the mill rate. What was the question? Read the question. What are the what? Property taxes. See, you should get in the habit of circling what they're asking you for so you don't get lost in the maze, right? They want to know the tax bill. That's what they're looking for. So for your homework, and we're not done, but for your homework before I forget, now, I apologize. Number 9 should not be in this section. I don't know, for some reason I was thinking excise taxes when I was making up this worksheet. Excise taxes are in chapter 5, so you can skip that for now. We will come back to it. But for your homework, you need to finish this packet, except you don't have to worry about the excise tax questions, which I think is the last one. Is there even an excise? There's not even an excise tax question on there. Good. So you need to finish the homework section there to bring that next week. You should be able to do all of those. We've done some of every one in there, so you should be able to go back and look at what we just did together and look at what you did. And again, it's about practice and repetition. It's all about practice and repetition with this. And that's it for chapter 3. That takes care of chapter 3. You made it through a big chapter and you made it through the first math in the class. Stop this.
Yes.